Welcome on into Sports Memo Today. It's a Thursday edition, but don't worry, this is a Thursday night football free safe space. So you don't have to hear the jokes about how awful the game's going to be tonight. They've already been said 1,000 times. Man, that total is low. Man, that line flipped real quick. But don't worry, because we got Ronald Cabang coming on here, and he's talking NFL, but not that dreck that's going to be on your sets. Tonight, we're talking a game coming up this weekend. We're talking college football and NBA right around the corner. There is no one at Sports Memo you want to ride with more on the NBA than my man Ronald Cabang, a.k.a. You Capper. Man, it is great to see you. Always love having you come on. I love your approach using the analytics. You're a watcher too, so you love using the spots, you love using the eyes, and all of that approach leaves you with a terrific bankroll gain. You see to the side of me, the last 2 years in NBA, plus 112 units, and this year's gonna be even better. Ronald, how are we doing, man? Thanks for coming on here on Thursday, brother.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I know you talked about Thursday night football. I do have a play on Thursday night football. But it's going to be a crazy game. But we'll see how it goes. I'm seeing the NFL board pretty well right now at 7-1 in the last 8 games. Hit my last 5 primetime games as well. So seeing the primetime games pretty well as well. And like you said, NBA is around the corner. I'm super excited for that. Been messing around with preseason and just kind of trying to make sure I'm getting ready for the basketball slates coming up. I'm actually set for games days 1, 2, and 3 for the NBA. I'm ready to go.
Whew. So you're already locked and loaded, ready to ride. And before we get into the plays for this week, we got to, pat yourself on the back for what you did last week when you came on. You were filling in then, and you just said, yeah, I'm just going to hop on, tell people I advise a play on the Texans. Not only did they cover the 7, we got the outright win, Cabang. So is that one of your approaches, is trying to find value on dogs, or do you just end up going through the card, you'll lay the chalk, you'll eat the chalk, but when you find a dog that's barking like that, you love those money line
hmm
sprinkles? Like, how do you kind of approach breaking down the NFL card for you, and kind of transfers into the NBA as well?
Yeah, specifically for the NFL, when I'm choosing a dog, I want to make sure I have a chance that the team's going to win outright. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you never know when a last minute or last second opportunity goes and you lose the back door. The way it is in the NFL, that happens a lot. And for me to take a dog, you can get a +7 and they're at a +10. You don't want to have to rely on them trying to score in the last minute
Mm-hmm.
when they're probably not going to be in that situation too often. So you want to make sure you want to get a spot in a dog that has the opportunity to win not only the game, but even the first half, because you want to be able to make sure they're ahead and play a certain specific way in the second half to make sure that they can actually continue to win that game. There's just different spots and different, like you said, it's spots and analytics. You got to watch the game when you're betting on sports, you really have to balance everything out, and that's what I tried to do.
I love to hear it, man. And you see in the scroll on the side, you can use code BANG200. You can get $200 off the entire NBA season from my guy, Ronald Cabang. We'll talk NBA in a little bit here. You mentioned if you head on over to your page at Sports Memo now, you have a play loaded for the game tonight. So if you need some entertainment value in what figures to be an instant classic this evening, head on over and grab Ronald's play at sportsmemo.com. Let's start with some college football, brother. And this Oklahoma team, man, 3 straight losses. They just get blanked by Texas, 49-0. And now they're laying it against the 5-1 Jayhawks. Now, let's be real. There's still some questions on if the Jayhawks are for real. But this
hmm
Oklahoma team, Cabang, 9-point favorites. I don't know. You think the sky's falling there for the Sooners?
Like you mentioned, man, they lost 3 in a row. They got blanked 49-0 last week to Texas. Kansas, they're the 19th ranked team in the nation, and they're underdogs to an unranked team that lost, like you said, 3 in a row, 49-0 last week. Oklahoma started the season ranked ninth in the nation. They were as low as sixth in the nation before these 3 losses. And I think one thing to notice about college football, or at least what I've noticed, is that the bounce back theory, the things that we look at in the NBA and in the NFL with the bounce back theory, doesn't work as well as it does in certain situations in college football versus the pros. These kids they're young. Mentally, it takes a lot for them to bounce back from losses like this, especially coming from a school like Oklahoma, who's really used to being on the other side of these beatdowns, right? So they take a huge loss like that. It's tough for them to bounce back. That's one angle that I want to talk about later on a trend that I'm going to talk about. On the other side, Kansas, being 9-point underdogs to an unranked team, that's kind of disrespectful, right? They're coming off their first loss of the season, which was a narrow one to TCU. They lost their starting quarterback in the middle of the game. But unlike Oklahoma's situation, this is one that Kansas can bounce back from. I know missing Daniels is a big component, but Jason Bean, he came in looking very comfortable, running the offense. He did throw for 4 touchdowns, but also a pick and a fumble. But with a whole week of preparation for a new game, hopefully he limits those turnovers and put them in position to win this one outright. Like I said, Bean has, this offense, I think they're going to be able to move against Oklahoma's defense. I think they're going to be able to move the ball against Oklahoma's defense. Oklahoma's allowed 41, 55, and 49 in the last 3 games. I can see Kansas. I feel like they could win this one outright. But obviously, taking the points is a way to go. And if you guys know me, I'm a big trends guy. I'm here, and here's a trend to support this play. Since 2018, teams who went scoreless in their previous game and are now favored by 13 points or less, they're 6-17 straight up, 3-19-1 against the spread. So that's saying to fade Oklahoma and take Kansas.
So looking towards Kansas, you think we can maybe get another outright dog? We'll find out. +9 going to be the official play here, but we'll have to circle back because we're going to be having Ronald on the show on Tuesday. He'll be your $2 Tuesday handicapper coming up next week. So always 3 o'clock Eastern, or excuse me, 2:30 Eastern. Where do you want to be? You want to be watching Sports Memo Today. Let's swing it over to the NFL. We mentioned you might be looking at dogs, but you're not afraid to be chomping on some chalk either. Let's talk this Bengals and Saints game. Here's the thing about this Bengals team is they were some questionable coaching decisions away from pulling a primetime upset against Baltimore. So now the Bengals have to continue this road trip they're on. They stay on the road. Now they're facing the Saints, who God knows who's going to be playing quarterback for them. 2.5 was what you sent in. I'm looking at the Wager Talk Live odds screen. We're down to 2. We're down to 1.5. So I know you want to make a case for the Bengals, but first I'll ask you, with over 70% of the money on Cincinnati, but the line kind of moving towards the Saints, is that kind of reverse line movement worry you at all, or you think it might just be a smokescreen? How are you betting this game?
Yeah, no, to me, a lot of the things that I think about, or when I look at these games and the line movement and the ticket percentage, most of the time, that doesn't really affect me here. To me, if I'm on a side and the line's going the opposite way, that's just giving me more value, right? Cincinnati, 2.5 point favorites on the road, or they were 2.5 points favorites on the road against New Orleans Saints. Both teams are 2-3. If you look at the opponents they face, you just mentioned the game against the Ravens. Both, like, all 3 losses for the Bengals, they've been by 3 points or less. So they've been competing in games. On the opposite side, the Saints, their wins are against teams who don't play defense, Falcons and the Seahawks. I think the Saints' offensive numbers are pretty misleading because of that fact, right? The Falcons 26 in the average total yards allowed per game. Vikings are 23rd. Seahawks are dead last. So their offensive numbers are going to look pretty good when they face teams like that. To me, I think that they're gonna struggle against this Bengals defense. They're top 10, to me, a top 10 team defense in the league right now. They limited the Ravens last week to just 19 points. That's more than 8 points below their season average. I think record-wise, Bengals know they aren't where they need to be. So they got to get these wins where they can. I don't think the Bengals will be looking ahead to the Falcons at all next week. So that's going to be out the window. Another thing to mention, Saints play on Thursday. They play like 3 days later. So they're not going to have a lot of rest between games. If the Bengals can manage a lead early in this game, this could be a situation where the Saints hold back a little bit and say, hey, I don't want to get too gassed for Thursday night. The rest of the way, Bengals could just take control of the game. I think, to me, regardless of what the line is, where the line is moving, the Bengals should be able to cover this pretty easily. Another trend, I'm a trends guy, like I said. Here's a trend to back this play. Since 2019, home dogs of 3 points or less and are playing in the next Thursday night football game, like the Saints are, they're 2-8-1 against the spread. So this trend is telling us to fade the Saints, take the Bengals, and a bonus. This also is 9-2 to the under. So if you want to look at the total as well, it's pointing to the under in that game as well.
Yeah, and on the flagship show here on Wager Talk TV, where we're streaming live on alongside on SportsMemo TV. Welcome in to all the viewers. The flagship show Bet on It that just dropped last night. In the NBA edition and the college edition, there was a lot of talk about the math guys and the math guys saying, well, there's no such thing as a look ahead. I think traditional handicappers and math guys can all agree there's no such thing as a look ahead against the Atlanta Falcons. I think everybody can definitely agree that there is no such thing on that one. So looking towards the Bengals, saying, hey, this reverse line movement, not scaring me off of it. That's Ronald Cabang. Let's talk some NBA future market, because season's tipping off on Tuesday. My Sixers are going to be in action. We have some other marquee matchups, Sixers, Celtics I'm looking forward to. I'm hoping Ronald doesn't have a play on the Celtics coming up in that one, but you'll have to check out his page for that. But before we get into these plays, I just want to share, you see in the side scroll the whole units, but how about last year, the 2021-2022 season, up almost 45 units, just solely betting NBA if you're tailing Ronald Cabang's plays. The year prior, 81.35 units gained. So the last two seasons since being with Sports Memo, yeah, that's not too bad, being over 122 units of profit for your bankroll. NBA is my man Ronald's specialty, and you can use code BANG200. You don't just get a month. You don't just get 2 months. How about the entire NBA season through the finals? That's usually going to run you $700. Use the code BANG200. Chop $200 off of that, $499. And for you math guys out there that we were talking about, that's $2, just over $2 per day. Bang 200. Head to his page right now at Sports Memo, because if there's one guy you want to ride with in the NBA, it's the man sitting right to my side here. Let's talk some of these future market plays. Let's start with the Blazers, because last year, yikes, 27-55, man. I mean, do the Blazers finally turn it around? I think their win total is around 40. I think the official is what it listed at 39.5 with some plus money to take back to the under. What do you think? The woes continue, or is it Dame time once again there in Portland?
I don't know, man. You mentioned it. Just 27 wins last week. I think this squad did get better. There's no doubt about that. I just don't think they got 12 and a half games better this offseason. I think looking at how their preseason games have gone so far, I think one thing is going to remain the same for the Blazers. Their defense is going to struggle. They picked up guys like Gary Payton. You got Dave Mittens, right? They picked them up to help with that, but I don't think that's going to be enough. They still don't really have a low post presence on the defensive side of the ball, and you need that to complete like a defensive unit, like with Gary Payton on the squad. I think the other thing too is they have a good mix of veterans and youth. They do have Dame, who got he got that fat contract, and Anthony to step into that McCollum role that he left. Jeremy Grant, I feel like he's a nice offensive weapon. Shaden Sharp has also shown that he's capable of producing as a rookie this preseason. A lot of good things for this squad in the next couple of years. But for this season specifically, I think too many teams have improved just as much as they did, or even more in the West. I think them winning over 30 games, that's definitely doable. I just don't think the roster, the way it is now, will be good enough to win 39.5. A whole bunch of teams that were in the middle of the pack that won about 38, 40 games, they're going to go up. And then you got the Suns and squads like that are going to come down a little bit. And a lot of those teams are going to a lot of those wins are going to go somewhere. But, and I'm going to come to that in the next squad. But I don't think all those wins are going to be coming to teams like the Blazers or the Thunders, who are down on the bottom. Maybe the Rockets get a couple more wins, but nothing too significant.
I love how you look at the market as a giant like pie, and everybody's slicing up their
Hmm.
pie on where do the wins come from because there is a finite amount of them out there. Love that approach you're looking at under the 39.5 wins. And we just lost all our viewers in Portland. We're sorry. But let's see if we can gain some maybe viewers in Minnesota. Let's talk about this Timberwolves team because Ronald, it was just 3 years ago that this team won 19 games, did the Timberwolves.
Hmm.
And now we're looking at a total of 48.5. Now, they won 46 last year. So I don't know. Slice up that pie. Can they find 3 extra
Yep.
wins while divvying that bad boy up? How are you betting them? 48.5 the total for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, I think, last season and before the season started, I was on Wager Talk and Sports Memo doing a bunch of shows about futures as well. Gave out Miami and Memphis as my 2 best overplays, even the Bulls. All those hit, and I'm using the same strategy here. Really, in the regular season, you want to look at depth, right? You want to look at depth to be able to make sure that the team can cover injuries and any load management situations possible, right? This team, I think they're young enough to be able to cover those load management situations. I think Rudy Gobert, maybe Cat, a few games will be the only guys we really need to worry about for that. Other than that, we were looking at injuries and those things. I feel like primarily most of the guys on the squad have been pretty healthy the last few seasons. To me, they won 46 games last season with the roster that they had. I definitely think they've improved more than 2.5 wins this season. I think Rudy Gobert, obviously the biggest acquisition for this team to shore up that defense. Kyle Anderson, I feel like he was an underrated move. He came from a winning organization, has a great basketball IQ. Their depth, like I mentioned earlier, is very important. They got guys like Naz Reid. He's expanded his game offensively. Guys like Bryn Forbes, who's a knockdown shooter. Even guys like Rivers, who can come in and just bring that experience to the squad, teach these young guys what they need to do in certain situations. There's a lot going on the positive side for this team. They really did put a team together, not just individuals doing their thing. You can see that every player that they put into this roster fits a specific role. I think with Anthony Edwards and guys like Jaden McDaniels as well, those 2 guys are going to take big leaps forward um, for this squad to help this team get past this 48.5 wins. Even Jalen Powell, he's someone who I could see playing that 6-man role. Someone like, that Clarkson Poole Harrell type role, just come off the bench and score at will. I think he has that offensive ability to do that. That's his skill set. He's shown some of that last season too. And in this preseason, he's shown it as well. Cat, I think he's going to take a step forward offensively as well. Having Gobert down in the post for the offensive rebounds, you can sit Cat on the wing there. You're going to see him hit career highs in 3-pointers this season. That's my opinion on how this offense is going to go with Cat on the wing and Gobert down low. Ultimately, I think the season total wins for that to take an over. Like I mentioned, the depth is important. The ability to cover the load management and injuries throughout the season. The Wolves have it, and I think 48.5 is definitely definitely within reach. I actually have them winning 54 wins or more this season. I think the Suns, they had 64 wins that season. That's going to come down by like at least 10.
Wow.
You got guys like the Jazz who are going to go down at least 20 wins. That's 30 wins between 2 teams. That's going to go somewhere.
Wow.
And the Wolves are in position to be able to take advantage of that.
Man, the Wolves had potentially 54 after just years ago not even being able to get to 20. Ronald Cabang doing the deep dive for you. RC, remind people, you mentioned you got a Thursday night play up. If people head over to your page at sportsmemo.com, what other kind of stuff are they going to find out there? And what else do you want them to know about what you're doing with your UCapper content as well?
Yeah, for tonight, like I said, I have one play on the Thursday night football game. I'm on a 7-1 run in the NFL right now. I hit the last 5 primetime bets. I think I have a pretty good one today. As far as the NBA, I posted day 1 already. I got one game, and it is on that Sixers Celtics game, so you'll be excited about that. And then day 2, I'm gonna have 4 bets posted, and day 3, I have 1 bet. I'm gonna have 1 bet posted. I have it all lined up. I'm ready for the NBA. College football, I'm gonna have a couple plays this weekend as well. Obviously, the one that I posted or that I talked about earlier is going to be one of my premium bets as well. So a lot going on my premium side at Sports Memo. as far as the YouTube channel, I got a lot of stuff going on there. I haven't done shows consistently the past couple of weeks, kind of trying to figure out my new schedule. I want to continue to do more
Hmm.
content with Sports Memo, obviously. My own channel, I'm probably going to continue going forward with the NBA and some NFL content as well. There's a lot going on my side, and I'm just really excited for everything that's coming forward.
Man, with all this stuff you got going, I hope you find time to sleep too, RC, my guy. So, hey, you're going to be on next Tuesday. If he's not on, it means that I checked out his play and that it's on the Celtics. I'm just kidding. We'll have you here for $2 Tuesday, regardless, brother. Cabang, always a pleasure talking with you. To recap, again, he's looking at the under on the Trailblazers. He's looking at the over 48.5 wins for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And we got an NFL play. He's looking towards the Bengals. That line is coming down, and he's looking at Kansas getting the 9 against Oklahoma. Make sure you use that code BANG200. Chop $200 off the profitable NBA season that is upcoming. You see next to me, over 112 units gained in the NBA the last 2 years. If you enjoyed the show, all we ask you to do, hit that like button, hop below, make sure you get in the comments whether you agree, whether you disagree, you have any questions for future shows, let us know about it. Make sure you hit subscribe, that little bell, so you never miss any of the great shows here at Sports Memo TV and Wager Talk TV. And that's going to do it for us. For Ronald Cabang, I'm Dan Alexander, and we will talk to you next week here on Sports Memo Today.